Mobile's own Phil Savage knows football. As GM of the Cleveland Browns, his job was to find talent and put a team together. As Senior Bowl director, he studies the college game and brings the best of the best to Mobile. And as Alabama's radio analyst, not many know the Tide better than he does. We are thrilled he joined us with his insight into the big game. Here at the lovely Senior Bowl headquarters in downtown Mobile, getting ready for the big Senior Bowl game, January 26th at Ladd-Peebles Stadium right here in Mobile. But first, we need to talk about, of course, another little game that's going on, the BCS National Championship. And to add some credibility to our program, we have brought in Phil Savage, the executive director of the Senior Bowl. Phil, good to see you.
Good to see you, Joe.
Couldn't script this game any better. Two traditional powerhouses. Just talk a little bit about that first.
Yeah, two of the most symbolic, historical programs in college football. And Notre Dame and Alabama come into this. Bama going for their third championship in 4 years. Notre Dame for the first time in 25 years with a chance to win a national title themselves. This is the game that I think most people really wanted to see, these two traditional powers meeting head-to-head in Miami.
What are the strengths and weaknesses of both these two teams?
Well, I think with Notre Dame, you talk about their front seven defensively. Potentially, they have at least 3 #1 draft picks. There's a lot more to the Irish than just Manti Te'o. They've got Capron Lewis Moore at defensive end, Lewis Nix at the nose, and then, of course, Stephen Tuitt at the right defensive end. They control a lot of the action up front. So I think the Alabama offensive line, which is a strength for the Tide, versus the Notre Dame defensive line, is going to be probably a wash. So the difference in this game may ultimately be determined on the outside, because that's where Alabama has Amari Cooper catching the ball, T.J. Yeldon, Eddie Lacy running the football. So I think Alabama's biggest advantage is actually going to be on the perimeter this time around, which is a little bit unusual for them.
What is the one thing Alabama has to do to win this ball game?
Well, I think first of all, they have to maintain possession of the ball and not turn it over. When Alabama has lost games over the last couple of years, it's been when they've killed themselves with turnovers. So if they take care of the football, I think that they can make it a hard road for Notre Dame in terms of Notre Dame trying to get to the 20-point threshold.
Now, a lot of people don't want to admit this, but there is a possibility that Notre Dame could win. They're 8-12-point underdogs based upon when and where you're looking at the breakdown. But what does Notre Dame have to do to beat Alabama?
Well, I think what they would have to do is create turnovers. Everett Golson, the freshman quarterback, has got to make a massive improvement between the end of the season and the bowl game. They've got 14 practices to do that. That'll be key for them. And then special teams. They've got to steal a touchdown somewhere.
It kicks off for Alabama.
And people will remember this. In 1973, Notre Dame had a kickoff return for a touchdown, and they also forced Alabama to miss an extra point. So the kicking game was huge back in the last time these two teams met for a national championship.
A month basically before they play this game, does it favor the Tide more or the Irish?
I think it favors Alabama a little more, and I'll tell you why. They've been through this procedure before. And if you go back, other than the bowl game in the Sugar Bowl against Utah when they flopped and didn't play well, other than that particular game, Alabama's played extremely well when they've either gone into the season, had all summer to get ready for an opponent, or had one of these 35 to 45 day layoffs between the regular season and the bowl game. But Nick Saban seems to have dialed into the right formula for his team to really take a step forward between the end of the regular season and the bowl game.
Think it's going to be close?
I think it'll be close for probably a half and into the third quarter, but I do think that Alabama has more depth, more speed, and ultimately just more overall talent. Notre Dame is definitely on the rise, but I think Alabama's been there. They've done that, and I think a freshman quarterback beating Nick Saban's defense, I think that's a tall order. But for Bama to win, they've got to take care of the football.
A lot of people like what you just said, Phil. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of our BCS Special. Appreciate it.